Can CrossFit help you add real muscle, a ton of real muscle to your body, or are the haters right? And is CrossFit the anti-gain train? In this episode of the podcast, we're going to take a heads-on approach to this highly controversial topic. So tune in and take notes. It's going to be a good one.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
What is up, guys? And the question today is, can you use CrossFit to build real muscle, visible muscle, the kind of muscle that turns heads? That's the topic of conversation here in today's episode of the podcast. As I go into this, I want to be very clear that I'm primarily talking to the men of the audience here, not necessarily to the women of the audience, because a lot of women have a very reasonable concern. Like, I don't want to get very big or bulky. I don't want to have a masculine looking physique. And if you're a female, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put your concerns at rest that unless you are actively trying and probably breaking the law, taking some kind of exogenous hormone, your body does not have the hormone profile to get very big and very bulky in response to any training protocol, CrossFit or otherwise. You'd have to be actively trying to get huge. So I want to go ahead, if you're a female in the audience, I want to put your concerns to rest that the way your body responds will be developing a lean, athletic, feminine physique, if that is what you are pursuing. But today I'm primarily speaking to the men of the group. Maybe the guys who have heard before that CrossFit is the anti-gains train, that if you go to CrossFit, you're not going to gain muscle for your physique. And that just isn't the case. If you look at elite CrossFit competitors, games level athletes, they all have incredible physiques, the kind of physiques that would draw envy from pretty much any man out there on the beach. Like, they look incredible. They have great muscle tone, great muscle definition, great muscle size. They're lean. Their muscles are functional and useful. They're not just for pretty. They actually work and they can do a lot of cool stuff. They look like athletes. They look capable. They look like they can defend themselves. They look like they take care of themselves. They look like they can handle themselves in a fight. And those physiques, those ripped, muscular, functional physiques are not an accident, because in CrossFit world, there's a lot that we do that can directly promote the development and maintenance of real muscle mass, visible muscle mass that turns heads and gets you noticed. So how is that? Number one, first reason, we spend a lot of time on compound movements, particularly like your squats, your deadlifts, your presses. Not just those, we do hundreds of other compound exercises, but these compound exercises are well established to engage multiple muscle groups and are excellent for building overall muscle mass. In fact, if you were to ask any bodybuilder what is the meat and potatoes of their program, it's probably your core lifts of squats, deadlifts, and presses, because these are such powerful stimulus to the body for developing real muscles. That's number one. Number two is the intensity aspect. CrossFit workouts often involve intensity, and that's not just when we're getting our heart rates up. It's not just when we're doing a conditioning piece. It's also an intensity that happens when we're doing strength work or weightlifting type things. With increased intensity, you can see increased muscle fiber recruitment and hypertrophy, and that leads to real muscle in the body. Point number three is variance. Varied workouts, varied lifting, varied protocols. In CrossFit, we incorporate a wide variety of exercises and training modalities. That includes weightlifting, body weight exercise, we call gymnastics in CrossFit world, cardiovascular exercises. This variety helps prevent plateaus, keeps muscles challenged, Once upon a time in the fitness world, we called it muscle confusion, where you keep your body guessing so that you're never necessarily becoming adapted to or accustomed to a specific. I do 3 sets of 10 of the same thing every Monday. It's not that predictable. And as such, your body is constantly being given, constantly receiving a new stimulus for growth and progress. This is really important. It helps promote muscle growth. Point number 4 for CrossFit adding muscle to your frame is progressive overload. CrossFit encourages progression in terms of weights lifted, repetitions performed, intensity levels, especially if you have a very knowledgeable coach that's designing a program with progressive overload in mind. An intelligently designed, thoughtfully created progressive series over time, not just random workouts from day to day, but workouts where there's a microcycle, a mesocycle, a macrocycle. There's a bigger vision, bigger plan. We're going to gradually increase our squat loads. We're going to gradually increase the number of pull-ups that we do over the coming weeks or whatever. Progressive overload is a fundamental principle of muscle growth and hypertrophy, as it involves continually increasing the demands placed on your muscles over time. So that's point number 4. Point number 5 is community and motivation. This is where CrossFit gyms tend to really excel. They foster a supportive community atmosphere and a motivating environment, which pushes each of us to push ourselves harder during our workouts. There's no question we do more, we get more out of ourselves when we are surrounded with motivating, driven people that are on a healthy living journey with us, people who they know us, they work out with us, they know our capacities, and they push us to continue to visit those limits even when we don't feel like doing it. That accountability is freaking huge. The encouragement, the accountability from your coaches, your fellow CrossFitters can be instrumental in helping you stay the course so that you actually see muscle building success because you're consistently doing the work over time. Point number 6 is functional strength. CrossFit emphasizes functional movements that mimic real life activities from sports combat life, such as like your lifting, your pushing, your pulling movements. And when we're training these movements with intensity and consistently, we don't just develop muscle size, but also functional muscle that translates to improved performance in your everyday activities and sports. You don't just gain muscle size, you gain useful muscle. That's a really important distinction. These are not just for show. These are for performance. We are performance engines here. Just as important as any previous point so far, point number 7 is nutritional guidance. Many CrossFit gyms, including CrossFit Edwardsville, offer nutrition guidance and support as a part of our curriculum. Proper nutrition is essential. It is not a nice to have, it is an essential for you to gain maximum muscle, and having access to guidance on macronutrient intake, meal timing, how much of this, how much of that, supplementation. All of these can enhance the results of your CrossFit training and your muscle building pursuits. Now, one caveat, it's important to note that your results will depend, it will vary based on factors like your genetics, your diet, your consistency, your adherence to proper form and programming. And, whenever you're new to CrossFit, it is important that you start gradually, learn the techniques, gradually increase your intensity, your load, your volume, just to be safe. But a good coach can give you all the guidance that you need to actually do that in a real world setting and succeed long term. And if, by the way, you need a coach to help give you that guidance, find us, CrossFit Edwardsville, on all the socials. You can Google us, read our Google reviews. We're on Facebook, Instagram. When you're ready, go to CrossFitEdwardsville.com, our website, CrossFitEdwardsville.com. You can book a no sweat conversation with a coach for no cost to talk about your unique fitness journey, and we hope that you do. For now, thank you for the gift of your time and your attention, and we will see you guys in the next episode of the podcast.